Hello and welcome our dear viewer to this very lesson, Primary 7 class. We are going to look at yet another country in Africa. Remember, we are looking at the economic development of Africa. And in the previous lesson, we discussed about the economic development of Nigeria, whereby we talked about a lot of things. We looked at what happens in Nigeria, which developments are in Nigeria, which resources are in Nigeria, which makes it to develop economically. So today we are looking at Libya, whereby we are going to be following the same things. Number one, we are going to look at the location of Libya. That is on the continent of Africa. Where do we find Libya? We shall also understand which is the capital city of Libya. And then after that, we shall be looking at the climate of Libya. After looking at the climate of Libya, it will take us to the economic activities which take place or which are done in Libya. Of course, these economic activities will be accompanied by the resources. So we shall also be looking at which resources are in Libya. We get on the lesson. This page is found, this lesson is found on page 23 of our workbooks. And here we are beginning our discussion saying that Libya is located in the northern part of Africa. In the northern part of Africa, with its capital city called Tripoli. That is how we are beginning. Now, when we go to look at the climate of Libya, we shall be able to note that Libya experiences two climatic conditions or two climatic regions. We shall be able to note that the northern part of Libya, just like when we were looking at Nigeria, we have the northern part of Libya experiencing what we call the Mediterranean climate. The Mediterranean climate. Of course, this one receives a lot of rain, whereas the southern part of Libya experiences what we call the desert climate. This one experiences desert climate. This is what we can also term as arid climate. That is about Libya. Therefore, we are going to be looking at two things. What takes place in the northern part, and then what takes place in the southern part. Remember, climate plays a key role in the development of a country because it is what determines the economic activities that people are going to be doing in that country. We also have the neighbors of Libya. We had forgotten to write them down. We were also supposed to look at the neighboring countries. On that page 23, we are having the Mediterranean Sea, that is in the northern part. We have Chad in the south. To the east, we have Egypt, we have Sudan in the southeast, and we have Tunisia in the northwest. So those are the countries that border Libya. We shall be able to know that Libya was colonized by Italy, not like Nigeria, which was colonized by the British, as we looked at in our previous discussion. Now, we are going to look at the two sides. In the northern part, we shall be able to realize that most of Libya's population, when we talk about the population, we are meaning people who live in that country. Remember, that's how we define population, the total number of people. We look at people in that area. So here we shall say most of Libya's population lives in the north, meaning most of the people in Libya live in the northern part. What is in the northern part? It is the part which experiences the Mediterranean climate, which means this is a suitable area for human settlement because it receives reliable rainfall. There we shall be having the activities taking place like fishing, we shall have trade, we shall have tourism, among other activities taking place in that northern part. And then when it comes to the southern part receiving, which has desert climate, we shall be having activities like mining, activities like tourism also. Remember, in the desert, people tour desert areas. And then we shall have irrigation farming, connecting water to to a dry area in order to have farming, that is crop growing, possible, that we also call cultivation. Now, we are going to look at oil mining in Libya. We have the map on our page 25 giving us the country, that is Libya, with the oil mining areas. We have areas like Zelten, Raguba, Athan, and then we have Dahra. These are some of the mining areas in Libya. Now, we are going to borrow the same idea that we used in mining in Nigeria. We said when this oil has been extracted, it is going to be channeled to the refineries through what we call pipeline transport. That's what we talked about on the other side of Nigeria. We said pipeline transport is the best type of transport for transporting liquid products, liquid goods, like we talked about sewage, water, oil itself in the previous lesson. The same will apply here. Therefore, when it comes to issues in line with oil mining, we shall have almost the same things that we discussed for Nigeria. However, in the lesson of Nigeria, we said like Nigeria has, it's that African country which produces much oil. We say it is the leading producer of oil. Here, when we are looking at Libya, we shall also be able to realize that Libya produces the oil which is of best quality. That is what we need to understand when we are talking about oil mining in Libya. Oil mining in Libya. We shall be able to say Libya produces oil of best quality, which means when we compare the quality of the oil that Libya produces in Africa, it is of best. No African country can have such a good quality oil as that of Libya. And for this matter, we shall be able to note that Libya's oil is on a high demand. Now, there is something we need to realize, and we need to understand the difference here. We say Nigeria produces much oil. However, Libya does not produce as much as Nigeria is producing, but its oil is of quality. We are not looking at the quality, not quantity. With the quantity, Nigeria takes the lead, but with the quality, it is Libya. That is the difference. That is what we need to note when we are talking about oil production or oil drilling, oil mining in Libya. And I have said this is why its oil is on a high demand, because it is of that good quality. You'll find Libya has access to export her oil to other countries outside Africa, even to those European countries, and it is able to earn Libya a lot of money. We shall be looking at that when we come to the importance of oil mining, and I think that is where we are going to. On page 25, we are having ways in which Libya has benefited from oil mining, which means we are looking at how is mining important, or how has it helped the government of Libya and even the people. One, we have said it's a source of foreign exchange. You have said Libya exports her oil to those European countries like Italy, France, the UK, then we have the USA. All those countries are on page 24. As a result, Libya is able to get profits. Libya is able to get what we call foreign exchange. Two, the mining companies are paid revenue to the government of Libya. which helps the government to collect that tax as its revenue. Number 3, the mining employs the people of Libya, which means it's a source of employment opportunities to the people. Number 4, it helps in getting raw materials. The oil produced or the oil mined can be used in making other products, which means that oil can act as a raw material. We had talked about all these things in the previous lesson when we were looking at the economic development of Nigeria. So, like I said, these things cut across. And also, the 5th point says that Libya will be able to get cheap oil because the oil is mined within the country. So, they are able to get cheap oil products. And then there we move to the problems which are caused by the oil mining industry. Problems caused by the oil industry. 1, we have price fluctuation, that is changes in the prices of oil products in the market. The other problem can occur is what we call pollution. As we looked at previously, pollution, we shall have noise pollution, air pollution also coming here, and this will affect the health of people. Remember, we say that the smoke which is released from these industries, from these factories, is harmful. It becomes toxic. And when people inhale it, when people take it in, it goes to affect their internal organs. And this will become a health burden to those people. And then also we talked about displacement in the previous oil mining in Nigeria. The same applies here. You will find when oil has been discovered in an area, people who have been settled there, who have been living in that area, have to be relocated. And this is what brings what we call displacement of people. So all those are challenges that are facing the oil industries, and of course we have challenges which are all problems which are faced or which are caused due to the oil mining, and then we have the problems that the oil mining industry faces. Now the ones we have been talking about are the ones which are caused due to mining of oil in an area. Now we have problems that the mining industry is facing. Number 1, we talk of lack of skilled labor, meaning there are no well-trained people to do the mining. Secondly, there are no proper equipment like the machinery, the machines used to extract the mineral. That's what we call poor technology or lack of technology. And then thirdly, we shall also be able to know that some mineral deposits are of small quantities, which makes getting them becoming difficult because people cannot bring machinery, and yet the product is very little to be extracted. So it also becomes a burden. And then lack of capital to invest in the mining of this mineral can also become another challenge. And of course, we have a problem of transport and communication network when it comes to mainly we are looking at transport, poor transport network when it comes to transporting these oil products to places where it can get market from. It becomes a challenge. And finally, we also have competition of market for these oil products. We find there are also other countries producing. In the previous lesson, we talked about OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. You will find that there can also be other countries which produce oil, and at the end of it all, the prices of oil go down. You say Libya is one of these Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. And then the other problem is what we call political instability, that we call insecurity in a country. Like I said even in the previous lesson, if you watched it, you will find that if there is insecurity in a country, there is a war in a country, everyone will be minding about their lives. So you'll find people will be busy running for their lives other than going to the mining area, other than going to the mining site. And this will make mining neglected or left aside. People are first of all running for their lives. So insecurity can also affect the mining of mineral in an area. More so when we are looking at the mining of oil. So that is what happens. And here we are also able to note that Libya Libya's population is low. Libya is one of the African countries with very few people. Therefore, like we say that most of the people live in the northern part because it is experiencing that Mediterranean climate. It has cool temperatures for human settlement. And also it has other activities like trade, fishing is there, and where we have the capital city, Tripoli. When we look at the map on our page 25, Tripoli is in the northern part there. That is in the northern part of the country. So you'll find many people live in that area. Now, Libya having few people, it means that it has got the disadvantages and the advantages at the same time. What we forgot to mention on the side of Nigeria was that it is that highly populated country in Africa. Leave alone only producing much oil, it also has very many people compared to other countries in Africa. So it is the most populated country. Whereas Libya can be having a few people, but it has, as I've said, there are advantages and disadvantages. Let's look at the advantages. These people are few, which means resources will be enough. That is number one. Of course, there will be nothing like over usage or over wasting of, over exploitation of resources. No, or maybe exhaustion of resources. You find the people are few, therefore the resources are enough for them. Secondly, the government finds it easier to provide social services to these people because they are just a few. Now, when we count the disadvantages of having a small population in an area, in a country like Libya, you will find that number one, the government does not collect enough taxes. The government collects also less revenue from these few people. Remember, the more the people, the more the income collected from them, the taxes. So sometimes you'll find that a country like Libya, which has few people, even the revenue is less collected. Number two, sometimes it brings what we call wastage of resources. The few people cannot be able to exploit all the resources, and at the end of it all, they will just leave other resources wasted in the country. That also becomes another burden. And then we talk about market. We know very well that in a country, people are the ones who provide the market for the goods which are made, which are manufactured. And if a country has a few people, then it means even the market to be provided, even these people who are to buy these things are going to be few. That is now what we call lack of market for the goods and services produced in the country. And of course, it also goes to shortage of labor. You'll find that there will be not enough people to provide enough labor force in the different sites or sectors where human labor can be required. This will become a shortage or a problem to the country. That is what we have on that page 26. For that, we shall be able to cross to another country. That has been about Libya. We shall cross to economic development of Sudan. Let's talk about Sudan. Economic development of Sudan. So we need to note, I believe by now we are not having that confusion between Sudan and South Sudan. Sometimes we have that challenge. The creation of South Sudan made Sudan remain as Sudan, a country. There is nothing like North Sudan, South Sudan, no. The other one is Sudan, and then the other one which was created is the one, our neighbor, the one we call South Sudan. So what we shall be able to note is that Sudan experiences what we call desert climate mainly. Of course, desert climate is characterized by an area having high temperatures with the low humidity. That is what happens. And being a desert area, you will find that the agriculture which takes place in this kind of countries is done through what we call irrigation. I mean crop growing. That's why we have it on that page 26, that agriculture in Uganda, in Sudan, is carried out through irrigation. We shall be looking at that irrigation that is on our page 28, but before we go to that, we have also animals which are reared in Sudan. These are some of the animals even reared in Libya, all that we not talk about it. You'll find that that desert area is suitable for the rearing of animals like camels. And you will find that in a desert, animals like camels are reared mainly because of their adaptations to live in that desert condition. One, we say that they have their pads, they are flat in a way that they can be able to, they cannot sink in the sand. Remember, in the desert we have sand, and sometimes we also have what we call sand dunes. Sand dunes, we look at the heaps of sand in the desert. This is what we shall have, or we were to have, this is what we were to have mentioned before this. So, before the Sudan. Sand dunes. We are looking at the heaps. This is the word I'm meaning, not the part of your body. The heaps of sand in a desert. Heaps of sand in a desert. Which means as wind blows, you will find that the wind keeps on blowing this sand, and the sand can be piled in an area, forming what you call a heap. That is what we call the sand dune. And this will help, these are features in a desert which will help to attract tourists. Of course, that will bring tourism taking place in the desert. Let's get back to our page 27, which gives us the animals reared in Sudan. We have animals like camels, cattle, sheep, and we have the goats. Now, we talked about growing crops in Sudan, and we have said crop growing in Sudan is done through what we call irrigation. We are going to look at irrigation scheme in Sudan, and this is what we call the Gezira irrigation scheme. Gezira irrigation scheme. As a candidate, we need to be able to we should be able to play around with Gezira irrigation scheme with ease, because it is one of the commonly questionable items we have in our class. The Gezira irrigation scheme is found in, or was established in Sudan. That is the country we have today. It's called Sudan, and we shall be able to realize that it lies in that triangular area that is between the White Nile. You will find that when this Nile flows, we talked about the parts of River Nile. That is we have the parts of River Nile. We had 3 parts, if you are to remember, the parts of River Nile. Parts of River Nile. We had what we call the Victoria Nile in Uganda, and the Victoria Nile, we said it runs from Lake Victoria up to Choga up to Lake Albert. That is the part we called the Victoria Nile. This is just to remind you. And then from Lake Albert to the border. This is the border between Uganda and South Sudan now. That area is what we call the Albert Nile, that part of the Nile, Albert Nile. And then the last part, which is the longest part, runs from the border up to Egypt, where it pours its water, where this river is going to form a delta as it's pouring the water into the Mediterranean Sea. That is now Egypt. That is the part we call the White Nile. So those are the 3 parts of River Nile. Now, when this Nile reaches when this Nile reaches Sudan, this is now South Sudan. We shall have Sudan here before now Egypt here. So we shall be able to realize that in Sudan, when this Nile reaches Sudan, this Nile meets another river which comes from Ethiopian islands, which is called the Blue Nile. This is the one we call the Blue Nile. And this is now the one we call the White Nile. It is part of River Nile. So the Gezira irrigation scheme was established between the White Nile and the Blue Nile. That is what we have as the Gezira irrigation scheme. Therefore, we shall be able to remove these other diagrams so that we remain with only that Gezira part. That's why when we open our book, that is page 28, it gives us the White Nile coming like this, and then we also have the Blue Nile coming like this. I have said this is the Blue Nile. And then this one is the White Nile. This is now Khartoum, the capital of Sudan. So, what we shall need to realize is that in the Gezira irrigation scheme, we have the dams. This is now the dam we call Sennar Dam. And we shall be able to note that the Sennar Dam is where water is stored. That is where water is stored for irrigation. And of course, we shall be able to realize that we have what we call the extensions. Extensions, we are looking at now the gardens. We have Gezira irrigation scheme this way. Then we shall have what we call the Manajil extension. And then we shall have also Kenana extension here. We have, these are the gardens, irrigated areas. Managil extension, and this is Kenana. This is Gezira now itself. Those are the other extensions of Gezira irrigation scheme. They will be asking you, apart from write down the two, or write down any one extension of Gezira irrigation scheme. They want now these other ones, Managil, and they also want Kenana extension. Let's go back to our page 27 because we need to understand what we are given. We are saying that Gezira irrigation scheme is an example of an irrigation scheme or a large-scale irrigation in Africa, which was established on that triangular land, as I have already talked about. It's found here. It lies between the Blue Nile and the White Nile, where the two rivers meet, and it is in Sudan, because remember we are in the development of Sudan. It was established by the British in 1925, and it has an extension which covers over 80,000 hectares of land. There is a question which says, mention the river which supplies water for irrigation, and that is the Blue Nile. As we saw here, the water is stored here, which water is now channeled to the gardens. The other thing we are also to understand is that irrigation at Gezira is done mainly through what we call gravitational flow. Gravitational flow. This is what we can also term as the canal method. Canal method of irrigation. Remember in primary 5, 6, we looked at methods of irrigation. We talked about methods like gravitational flow or canal method. And then we also talked of methods like sprinkler irrigation. Say this is where water is where water is sprayed on the plants or on the crops. Water is sprayed or sprinkled. That was also another method of irrigation that we have. But mainly in Gezira, we have irrigation done through what we call gravitational flow. That is water being channeled through canals. So we have crops grown. We have other crops grown. We have crops like sorghum, cotton. We have groundnuts, sorghum, wheat, millet, maize, and then we also have crops like the vegetables also grown there. So we are moving to the map. We shall go to the map whereby we are saying the map has got areas which are irrigated. We have Gezira itself, we have the Managil, and we have Kenana extension. Kenana extension is for sugarcane mainly. Sugarcane. Whereas the other ones are for purely cotton. That is for Gezira. Now, on page 29, we are having what we call the Gezira Sudan Board. That is, the Gezira Management Board. That is the board in Sudan which manages the activities of that irrigation farming in Sudan. Its roles: one, to provide seeds to the farmers, providing fertilizers to the farmers, providing machinery, technical advice, that is giving them some ideas on what they are supposed to do in their farms. Remember, these farmers are the ones we are calling there as tenants. They will be asking you, who are the tenants in Gezira? The tenants, these are the farmers who own plots in Gezira irrigation scheme, which is in Sudan. The roles of the farmers or these tenants: one, they plant crops in those schemes, they spray, they weed, they harvest, and then they remove the plant residues after harvesting them. And then also they are to clear the channels, for irrigation. Factors that made irrigation possible in the Gezira irrigation scheme: one says there was presence of water, that is from the Blue Nile. Remember, we have said it's the Blue Nile, of which it will be stored in the Zenar Dam. We have already talked about that. And then we also have the area had fertile soil. It was fertile, and then it was gently slopy to enable the flow of water. And then it had a few people settled or living in it, which means they could now get areas or the gardens to irrigate. We are looking at the benefits. How is an irrigation scheme like Gezira important to the people? Not only to the people, but even to the countries. Number one, this is a source of employment. We have said they are tenants, farmers, which means these people are employed or they work in these farms, in these gardens, in these irrigation gardens or schemes. At the end of it all, they get the money. So it is a source of employment. Number two, it is a source of food. People grow, they can also grow crops there. Much as they grow cotton, we have also realized that they can also grow. Remember, cotton is the main crop grown there. However, we also looked at other crops. On page 27, we looked at crops like groundnuts, sorghum, millet, maize, vegetables. These are the food crops that people can also grow, and they get food from that Gezira irrigation. So it makes us know that Gezira can also provide food to the people. And then it is a source of raw materials. The cotton grown can also be sold. Being the main crop, you will find that cotton can be used to make other products, to make clothes, to make cotton wool, to make cotton and any other products got from cotton. So that is another advantage of growing of this Gezira. It provides raw materials used to make other products. And then also, we shall be able to know that it is a source of government revenue. The government charges these tenants, and these people raise some money to the government. And also, it brings what we call foreign exchange to the government through exportation of the produce which are produced from that irrigation scheme. And of course, it is a source of, or it leads also to the improvement of infrastructure. We talked about infrastructure. We say we look at things like roads in an area, health facilities. You will find because of that irrigation scheme, they are going to improve on the roads joining it, and that will lead to the development of infrastructure among other items. And then we have the problems facing Gezira irrigation scheme. Like I've always told you, the problems, we are looking at an irrigation scheme, and this is Gezira whereby crops are grown. So it now means that we are going to look at the problems facing crop farmers. Like we shall have problems like crop pests and diseases. That one is a problem that will come there. Sometimes there is lack of enough capital. Remember, this is an area which is done, or this is the system which is done on a large scale, which means people need a lot of capital to work. A lot of people are needed to work in those farms, which becomes a burden, or it becomes a challenge. Sometimes the money may not be enough to employ enough people. It becomes a challenge. Then the other one is we have shortage of labor, and also we have problems of bilharzias. We have these diseases, these snail diseases, because they can be in those areas. And then the prices of cotton being the main product which is produced there, find that sometimes the prices of the cotton produced go down. That calls for what we call price fluctuation. It becomes another challenge to the Gezira irrigation scheme. I talked about this. I say cotton is produced at Managil Extension and Gezira itself here, whereas at Kenana Extension, this is where we have sugarcane grown also. So those are the challenges. Solutions to the problems, like I've always said, we get the solution from the problem. If there is a problem of crop pests and diseases, what should be done? Farmers can spray and they can overcome this problem. And then through encouraging tenants to use or to provide labor, and also we have the government should provide money to the management board, that is Gezira Management Board, GMB, to help the tenants get some capital that they can invest in the farm activities. And lastly is to diversify the economy, that is having other sectors set up other than relying on only that. We have on page 30 what we call the dams. We have the dams that generate hydroelectricity or hydroelectric power, which is used to run that or used in Sudan. We have the Sennar Dam itself, and then we have the Rosaires Dam. Advantages of the power dams, as usual, they generate hydroelectricity. Yeah, they can attract tourists, meaning they are sources of tourist attraction, and then they are sources of employment opportunities. People work in those dams and they are able to get jobs, and those are the advantages that we have there. Next, when we meet, we shall be looking at the Nile Valley countries. I was drawing River Nile flowing. Next time we shall be talking much about River Nile. That is what will take us to what we call Nile Valley countries. For now, we have ended on Sudan. Remember, we are still having other countries to talk about. We have only discussed Libya and Sudan in this very particular lesson. In the previous one that we watched, we talked about, we learned about Nigeria. You remember to always keep on remembering these things. Don't just watch them and they get off your mind, because we need them. We need this knowledge to help us. Thank you so much, dear viewer, for watching this lesson, and I pledge to end here and promise to see you another time. Thank you.